Welcome to Tipsy Cheesemate, where we drink, you listen.
And we gossip. Today's episode, we have Smirnoff, sourced with real fruit juice, pineapple and coconut.
I think the coconut's a little too strong.
I think it's very strong, overpowering.
A little disappointing, but it's good.
It's still good.
So we're going to talk about fetishes towards Latina women and fetishes just in general.
So for today's disclaimer, these are our personal experiences or stories that we may have heard from other people. Again, everybody's experience is different. Doesn't mean every person has the same fetish because that's not what it's about. So yeah, if you guys have ever been a victim of a weird fetish out there, or not necessarily weird, but if you guys ever been a victim of men's fetish, you guys can leave your comments below.
Yeah, let us know what happened to you.
And if y'all have any juicy tea or gossip too.
Oh yeah, give us a DM. Don't put it in the comments if you want to keep it anonymous.
Yeah.
But DM us.
For sure.
Tipsy Cheesemate on Instagram.
Like, follow, and subscribe.
Leave a comment down below. Give us a heart emoji.
Hit the little bell button.
If you're still listening, post a
pineapple.
A pineapple.
So to begin with, we're talking about like how, in general, there is a very common fetish towards Latinas in general.
Mm-hmm.
It is a very common thing for guys to fetish about, whether it be the dark hair, the features.
Another disclaimer: the fetish and the fetishize and the fetishization. We don't know the correct term for it, but just capiche, okay?
Talking about fetishes.
Fetishes.
Anyway, I feel like common fetishes towards Latinas in general, like the hair, the features, the big red lips, the makeup. I mean, it's just the common, not necessarily common, because not every Latina dresses or looks the same even. It's just like this stereotype in general. Mm-hmm. The body being very curvy. Obviously, mm-hmm. Not every Latina is super curvy, but it's a fetish. Like the big boobs, the big butt, the hips, being able to dance, being able to speak Spanish and saying, you know what I'm saying? Papi. But that's my point, pues. So there are a lot of things that happen. Being able to cook, like a lot of stuff. I feel like I haven't really been too fetishized about for being Latina in my head. Maybe they have a little bit. But in general, I feel like the most that they can say about that would be the stereotype of a personality of a Latina. So the stereotype of, oh, es tóxica, me va a celar, me va a hacer lonche, me va a cuidar, va a quedarse en casa, like stuff like that.
She's crazy and some men like crazy.
Yes, which everybody has their own opinions and all that stuff, no? But I feel like a lot of people have that idea of, oh, well, ella es Latina, ella es Mexicana, ella esto, me va a hacer esto.
And I think we do have a lot of the stereotypical personality to us traits.
Yeah. Yes and no. Because I'm not a stay-at-home wife. I wouldn't be able to do that. We've already been over this.
I think I don't know. I think I do have a lot of the stereotype of a Latina like person, mm-hmm. In a relationship in general. Mm-hmm. Appearance wise, like not really. Do I have boobs and a butt? Yes, but
that dark, mysterious makeup type of thing, that vibe.
No. And I don't have big lips. I think personality, I do kind of have it to mm-hmm. an extent. Mm-hmm. Based on like past relationships and stuff, like I gained a lot of things, a lot of knowledge of like, I like this, I don't like this. And mm-hmm. so I think my personality of how I am in a relationship got like formed because of that. And not necessarily relationships, because I only had one other relationship, but like little the talking stage or whatever of me trying to get there, of dating, but not like boyfriend and girlfriend. Um, definitely formed the way that I am. But did both of the guys that I dated originally like me because I was Latina? Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So, have you had an experience being fetishized?
So yes. So my ex, he always like had, something to do. He was always saying something about the fact that I am Mexican.
For context, he isn't Hispanic at all, right?
He is not.
And I feel like the fetish for a lot of people comes from non-Hispanic men usually.
I think a lot of the things that looking back at now, I'd be like, yuck, because I see people doing it now and it gives me the ick of like how we would call each other mi amor, even though he didn't speak Spanish.
Okay, okay, okay.
And te amo and things like that.
Because I feel like when this also goes, I feel like to um what is it called, culture appropriation.
Mm-hmm.
Is it because he embraces your culture? Because when I had that ex that wasn't Hispanic, that is not Hispanic at all, and he would learn Spanish. He would do
Mm-hmm.
Hispanic things with us. He did the folkloric dancing. I didn't take it as it being cringy. I took it as him because
Embracing
he
the culture.
loved me and was
Mm-hmm.
interested in me, wanted to embrace my culture and mix it together. So you don't take it like
Yeah,
that?
I could, but I don't because he was weird,
Yeah, he was weird.
And so I think
I feel like he did have a fetish
yes,
about
he
it for
did for
sure.
sure. So
Yes.
after him and I split up, he started dating another Hispanic girl, and him and I were friends. And he told me he was like, "Oh, you would really like her." And I'd be like, "Oh, really? Why?"
She's
And
Mexican.
he said she really likes beans, and I go, "Okay." And he goes, "Yeah, she's Mexican like you, and that's why I'm dating her." And I was like,
That's bold.
"Yeah."
So actually, this isn't confirmed, but I was talking to this guy, right? We were getting to know each other, talking, all that fun stuff. And then I realized this person was not Hispanic. This person was on a Hispanic dating site.
Mm,
X was Hispanic. So he was on purpose looking for an Hispanic woman.
yeah.
Like that's a little like why was he on the Hispanic dating site? To begin
Yeah.
with, if he's not, because it's supposed to be Latinos finding Latinos, basically.
Yes.
So
I think in general, just not necessarily just Latinos, but in general, how they categorize it. You have your type, which I know people swear that my type is Asian people, but for me, it's not. Like
I don't think so. I think it was just
the person itself,
yes.
and the fact that people do have a type to me is weird.
I don't feel like I have a type. I have preferences, and it's okay. Like also to have your own preferences and likings. Like if you do like only like Asian men for your
Mm-hmm.
own reasons, that's fine. I think
To
it's
me, it's
just
weird.
a slippery slope of preferences and types versus having a fetish for that kind of person.
Well, and by type, I mean like culture. Like, oh, I only like Asian people. I only like Hispanic people. That to me is weird because then you're not really looking at the person. You're just looking at who they are, like their background.
Yeah. Yeah, that's also why I feel like I don't have a type because I feel like I want to get to know the person first. And if whatever their background is, I feel like I've always been open to learning and learning about that culture because of the
Did you
person
learn
it is. Huh?
about what you were saying in bed, how they speak Spanish and all that? So I think it's fine to like a language. Like if you hear someone speaking a different language, you'd be attracted to it. But
I think that's very normal.
yes, but I think it also can go a little too far.
Well, I feel like in bed, a lot of, and girls too, they have a thing for Hispanic men for them to say, "Hey, mommy," it's like stuff like that. It goes both ways. It's not just men over women,
Yeah.
for sure.
Mommy, be careful. The
The
mosquitoes.
mosquitoes. I feel like it is the Latino culture is very sexualized.
Yeah.
It's very sexualized, and so when it comes to like in bed, like you said, if the other person is not Hispanic, like I feel like it is a little weird to a point.
That, like I said, I don't know how to explain it because that to me isn't weird.
Interesting.
Because, like I said, it's for me, it's normal to be attracted to like a different language. Like,
Okay, but if they're asking you to,
like
oh, okay,
French
okay,
to
I get it,
me
I get
is
it.
very, very attractive.
Yes.
And like if if I was getting it on and I wanted to hear French, like I don't think it would be weird.
Hmm.
But
I get it. Yeah, I'm wrong. You're right. I'm wrong.
if you're speaking like in a public manner outside of bed and you're just speaking in Spanish and people are like, that to me is weird.
Like so, like in bed, they're like, call me Poppy. Like
Poppy.
exactly. Like that to me, it's like, mm. I feel like if it flows naturally for you,
Mm-hmm.
because it's your language or whatever, for you to say it naturally, it's different. Again, if this is your partner and you have that communication, if that's what they like all these things, it's different. But if it's like a random person, like it's not a bond per se, like I feel like that's where it gets a little weird, you
So
know?
like a fling,
Not even a fling. Like if it's,
one night stand.
yes, if you don't know this person and they're trying to like push this idea on to the occasion, then I feel
Yeah.
like it is weird. I feel like that would be like, okay, if they're
Like
constantly,
eventually, so you mean like if they had been together for a while and they got comfortable with one another, then it'd be fine?
yeah, I think. I feel like it depends. Like if this person, let's say, okay, let's talk about specific people here. If a guy and a girl, right, they meet at a bar, they're drinking, they're getting to know each other, or they're let's just say they're drinking, having fun. The guy likes her. Let's say he has a fetish for women. I mean, for
For women.
for Latina women, and he's constantly like the whole night making remarks like, "Oh, I like your curves. I love," like just like adding on to like nonstop making remarks about her as a Latina and only emphasizing that part. And then let's say they're just gonna hook up because whatever, one night stand or whatever. But he is constantly just making like
Yeah.
those kind of remarks. I feel like that's where it's like a fetish in general.
Yeah.
But if it's something that he likes to hear in bed or something, like he wouldn't have made those remarks the whole night. I don't know how to explain myself in the
I
way.
think we're both struggling, but the idea of Latina women in general too, like it also sets the expectation of like what you're supposed to look like. And so the people that don't have that look, it's like they're not seen as real Latinas because when men think about Latinas, like it's what you said, it's the like curves, it's the makeup and all that stuff. And so they see someone that doesn't look like that and it's the expectations are just different.
Yes. Besides that story, do you have any other fetishization stories?
Like about me personally, I guess it's the cooking thing too. Like, I think several boys, because back then it was boys, um, would like fantasize about that kind of stuff. About, oh, well, since you're Latina, like you can cook for me and you can make me these amazing meals. And I was like 14. There's no way I could make a good meal. But nothing like extreme because I got with Jern
Yeah.
so young and then I never went back to anyone else. So
Yeah, I feel like my experience with the dating apps was a
Mm-hmm.
lot of that. A lot of when guys would realize I was a, I mean, I'm like, I don't look Hispanic, but when they would see me and they would realize, or through conversations or whatever, that idea of, oh, she's gonna cook for me, she's gonna take care of me, she's gonna do all these things for me, was like instant. Like
Mm-hmm.
they just assumed. I'm like, no, I'm not like that.
I don't know how to cook.
I don't cook, I don't clean.
Let me tell you, I got this ring.
So I've seen that a lot of personality fetish,
Mm-hmm.
and it can also be preference. I mean, there are guys who do want a stay-at-home wife or
Mm-hmm.
stay-at-home whatever. Like they do want that, and they do want somebody that make them their lonchecito or cafecito en
Can't
las
wait for that.
mañanas, which is fine. Like if that's for you, that's for you.
I'm a housewife.
I feel like it depends. I would be if I had my man to do all those things for me. You know, I wouldn't feel like I have to do all these other things too. So if I have to work, if I have to do this and I have to do that and take care of like other things, then I feel like I shouldn't have to
Yeah.
wake up at 3, 4 in the morning para hacerte tu lonche and take care of the kids and do this, blah, blah, blah,
Yeah.
because it's unfair and I would just go into overdrive and just burn myself out. But if I had a provider, a man, do his part, then I feel
Mm-hmm.
like it does flow naturally for me to do that. Because I do feel like I'm like to spoil in that sense if I'm given the opportunity,
Yeah.
you know?
I
Get into my
remember
soft girl era.
I have this story
Fetish.
that I remember a lot. Uh, my mom, she got like I think it was a dresser or a desk or something like that, and obviously it doesn't come like pre-built, so it came in a box. And my ex was visiting at the time, and she asked him to build it, and he said that he didn't know how to. And so I started putting it together, and he was telling me, "Oh no, you're supposed to do this. No, you're supposed to do that." And I'd be like, "You can't tell me what to do. Like if you don't know how to do it yourself, don't involve yourself in it." So for him, for example, I never said I wanted to be a housewife for him. Like for me,
Mm-hmm.
it was always like, "No, I want to work and be my own boss or whatever," which is fine too.
Mm-hmm.
Um, But now, because of how like my marriage is and everything, it's not that I want to like
I think
attend to him,
it
but
depends on the person and your relationship with that person.
I know that Jaren already makes so many like sacrifices and stuff like that for me. And so for me, like spoiling him in that sense of like, oh well, I want to make you lunch and I want to for you to go to work and like have a really nice meal because he hasn't had that in 3 years. Like he's always been um going out to eat because he doesn't have anyone there to like cook for him,
Yeah.
which he could do it himself, but
Yeah.
I understand like he's not around any familiar people or anything like that, so it's different. And so that's why I would do it. So I, like you said, it just depends on the person you're with.
Yes. 100%. Because on that topic, what you said with your ex, like, if you have to put so much effort for this, if you, and this isn't about a man versus women roles, like,
Yeah.
it's just, I feel like a relationship in general, if it goes both ways, there is like a balance. If you have to put in so much effort, then that person has to give that effort back. But if there's a disbalance, you need to make it up some way or another. Um, yeah.
Oh, so a fetish that I find very weird, which I
Belly buttons.
shouldn't, but no, no, no. How men are attracted to girls that are like son un palito. I'm sorry, but look, I think that if those like women are very confident in themselves and everything, like that's amazing for them. However, for men to like seek that out instead of
Okay.
like liking the person because that's their girlfriend or that's their wife, to seek that out because to me es un cuerpo de una niña.
I was about to say that. Yeah, I agree. I think again, this goes on a lot of different topics, but I feel because if you're a woman that's built like that, there's nothing wrong with that at all.
Yeah.
That's your body and you should be comfortable with your body. The weird part is guys only wanting a girl to look like that.
Yes.
Because yes, it gets to a point where it's a little like, okay, she like that's kind of like a childish thing, you
Mm-hmm.
know? That's a conversation I had a few years ago about a man telling me that I need to keep myself shaved and clean at all times, right?
Yeah.
And then I said, well, what if I put that expectation for you then? What if
Mm-hmm.
I want you to be shaved and clean at all times? This person responds with, why would I do that? Only boys are hairless like that.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what you like? Boys? I was like, well, is that what you like? Little girls? Like,
Mm-hmm.
that's another thing. Like, like, everybody has their preferences.
Mm-hmm.
I understand not liking, I was going to say facial hair, not liking pubic hair, I guess. But for that to be like,
An expectation.
yes. And then when I turn the table around, that Uno reverse card, I get that response.
Mm-hmm.
That I was like, weird. Okay, that's a very weird thing to say. If you think it's for little boys to be hairless, then if for a girl to be hairless is the same thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think I don't know what the cabrón.
Same thing about like when I think it's weird when guys find me attractive too because I feel like I look like a kid.
Just
With Jaren, we started talking when we were 16. And so to me, that's different because we were kids when we got together.
yeah,
And so now, like, we're at this point, and all his friends tell him, she looks like a kid. She looks like a child. And I'm like, I know. I do look like one. It's weird to me when, like, guys off the street hit on me because I'm like, I don't like this because I don't know. Like I said, I look like a kid in my eyes. I do. And so if a guy hits on me, it feels like they're attracted to children.
interesting. I think you have
Not a body of a kid, I know.
no. What I was gonna say, I
Oh,
feel like you have a trend going for you right now.
what?
Finding people weird that like you because you feel like it's a little weird that you look like a little kid.
And finding
Finding
men that like little kid bodies? Because I'm very, very disgusted by men that find children attractive or women that find children
have you
attractive.
seen? I don't know if you've seen. Like I, there was this whole thing where girls, like waitresses, were doing their hair like in pigtails or
Ew,
little
yes.
braids because for weird reasons they were
They
getting
tip more.
so many more tips,
Mm-hmm.
like ridiculously amount of tips because
Yep.
they had that little girl aesthetic basically. Obviously, these some of these women were grown and like they did not look like little girls, but it's that subconscious part of their brain, you know.
Mm-hmm.
My nose is itching. um, I've been a weird thing that's happened to me once is at a dollar store. I was shopping. I had I was trying to rush. This guy was like following me, and I noticed this guy was following me. I'm a very paranoid person, so when I saw this guy following me, I was like, he's trying to kidnap me. He's trying to like do something to me. This was when I was at my heaviest, I feel like. So I didn't think this person wanted me in that sense, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And this guy cornered me and asked me basically if if he could have my phone number or something like that. I don't remember the story too well anymore. And I was like, no, dude, I'm married or I have a husband
Wasn't he
outside.
with you though?
No, he was in the car. He
Um,
was in the car with Mateo because Mateo was with us. Because I was only supposed to get something really quick. Like it was some really quick thing that took forever because of this man. He's like, well, is he gonna be able to handle all that? That broke me. He had a fetish for fat people, and I was like, this dude just called me fat, and I was like, all right. I was like, yeah, and
maybe he wasn't talking about your fatness. He was talking about your fatness.
with a ph.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, but point is, he really wanted it, and I was like, no, 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 and I felt so uncomfortable at that point. I That was one. Another one was me being pregnant. I feel
Mm,
like guys that have this fetish with pregnant women are weird
that's
too.
so nuts.
Like, and again, I feel like it has to do with the biology of it all,
Yeah.
the brain of it all, the subconscious of it all. I feel like men, they see a fertile woman and they're like,
Mhm.
oh, she's, again, I don't think most men actively are like thinking this. I feel like it's just subconscious. Like, oh,
Yeah.
she's fertile. She can have babies. Like, caveman kind of thinking, you know? But there are some guys that are like, ooh, look, she's pregnant. She's carrying a baby. Even if it's not theirs, they
Mhm.
like it. And I think that's so weird.
I also think it's weird about the husbands who aren't attracted to their wife after they get pregnant.
After, like,
Yeah.
during pregnancy or
Yes.
after pregnancy?
No, during pregnancy. Like when they get pregnant, they stop being attracted to them. Like they feel weird because the baby's in there.
I feel like a lot of men are unaware and uneducated when it comes to
Yes.
women in general. So I feel like it legitimately freaks them out. And I don't think they're trying to be like cocky when they're like in there and they're like, "Oh, am I touching the baby's head?" You know? I don't think it's like, "Oh, it's because I have such a big
Cock.
yeah." And that's why I'm hurting the baby. I think it's just because they are unaware of how old, and the women too. A lot of women are
Yeah.
super unaware of how all that works. So there's that. I feel like there's a lot of lack of education on that topic, and that's why it gets freaked out. But yes, there are a lot of men who are simply just unattracted. I was listening to this podcast on on TikTok. I don't remember what the podcast. I'm pretty sure it's Two Hot Takes. They were talking about how they're reading a Reddit story of my Am I the Asshole
Mhm.
story. But it was deleted off Reddit because of like the backlash to this dude talking about how he was unattracted to his wife because she was
Mhm.
pregnant. And he's like, yeah, we went on a hike that she's done before, and I don't know why she's so dehydrated, and she's complaining that she can't even walk so far if she's already done this before, and now she's out of breath, she's out of condition, she's out of that. I'm like, dude,
Because she's pregnant.
yeah, exactly. And I feel like there are a lot of stories like that, and it's sad.
Yep.
It's sad because that woman is carrying your child,
Yeah.
and that's on little boy stuff, like little boy mentality.
Yes.
A real man is not gonna like. Come on, a real man is gonna be like, "That's my wife carrying my child in her womb."
Mhm.
Post pregnancy, not everybody's able to bounce back.
Yeah.
Not everybody's able to work on themselves because of life, hormone stress, like everything. There's so much that comes into that.
Mhm.
So when a woman isn't able to go back into her pre-baby body, like there's this huge stress for women to
Look the same like before pregnancy.
yeah, to bounce back immediately.
Yep.
It doesn't work like that.
Nope. I thought when I was
I was like,
younger,
you're pregnant?
I thought that as soon as they gave birth, like their belly just whoop, went back to
Me too.
normal.
Me too.
But no, they still look pregnant
Yeah, for a
after.
bit.
Yeah.
For a bit. Because I thought that too. I thought that after they had the baby, like the stomach just automatically went down.
Deflated.
Yeah, it's pretty much like a balloon.
Yes.
Because in my head, like a baby was in there, like the
Mhm.
baby's occupying, the baby's what's making that bubble of a belly. So
Mhm.
when the baby's out, there shouldn't be a bubble. But no,
No.
they still look pregnant. Like it's still like puffed out. Is that even like? Because in my head, like the belly would go down and like it would just be like saggy, you know?
Yeah, like the
But
skin.
yes, that's how I imagined it. But no, RP.
Second drink.
At work or at this place where I worked, I met this guy and his wife. His wife had pretty sure two little kids, and she was pregnant at that time. When I met her, she was already pregnant. This guy was always overly friendly with all the girls and the hostesses. I started off as a server, but I also hosted, and I just remember him always like giving the hugs and like being like touchy feely, shoulder, like all those kind of things. Like, oh, let me give you a neck rub. But I never like I didn't like it, but I never paid too much attention to it because nobody ever said anything, you know? Nobody ever made a comment of like, oh my god, he's like creeping me out or anything like that. So I was like, tal vez yo soy la mamona. Just gonna keep my mouth shut, you know? And this girl, I mean his wife was pregnant, so she took her maternity leave. She was giving birth, all that fun stuff. So she wasn't there at work anymore. At that point, I was pregnant. I would say about like 7, 8 months pregnant. It was late towards my pregnancy, and because you could already see my stomach.
Which
And
she didn't have a big stomach anyway.
yes, and he would come from behind me and hug me from behind and like rub my belly and be like, "Oh, I'm gonna tell your husband that this is our baby," like stuff like that, comments like that. Yes, and I never felt comfortable with it, and I started avoiding him. That's how it started because I felt super uncomfortable, and I started avoiding him. And to begin with, I didn't like anybody touching my stomach. I felt very uncomfortable. So when he did it with that intention from behind, like all these things, even when he was like facing me and he would like touch my stomach, he would make comments, and I didn't like that. It would make me feel very weird. One specific time, I was trying to reach some to go boxes. The boxes fell because he came from behind and he tickled me, and the boxes fell, and I have a scar on my nose because of that. Because I cut my nose open, and that was like my last straw. I was so mad, and I went up to my friend whose husband was a assistant manager or something like that, who was like a mandatory report. I don't know how to say it, but he by obligation he had to report it no matter what. So he reported it to the manager. The manager came to me. She said, "Hey, this person told me this, that this happened. Like, what's going on?" So I just told her everything. I had to write a full report. And while I was doing the report afterwards, that was like at the last. We were closed that day, so I came back to work the next day, early in the morning, because I opened, and I went in, and there was like a whole line of like girls, and like one of them was sitting at the table with the manager, another one was sitting at a different table with a different manager, and they were all writing. And my friend who I told this had happened to, she told me, by the way, they're doing a full investigation. These are all people that have felt uncomfortable about this certain person, but they haven't said anything. Most of these girls were underage.
That's fucking nuts. You see what I mean?
Yes. Most of these girls were like 16-year-old girls, 17-year-old girls that was their first job. They were still finishing high school, like, so they were just trying to get
Make
out of there
money.
pretty much, make money and all that stuff. And he came into work, and I felt so like bad because like I said, he has a family already. He had a wife and kids, and he came in, he walked back to clock in, and I was at the front because that day I was hosting. I was at the front just doing my things. He came in, and then I just saw him walk out mad. You could just tell by the way he was walking, like he was mad. He like was he threw his apron on the floor and everything, and he was like cussing stuff out, and he just like left. They had fired him. His wife came back after a few like weeks. She came back to work, and she came back with the worst, nastiest attitude of the world. Like she was mad at all of us. She wasn't there when everything happened, so she doesn't know how everything went down.
Yeah.
All she knows is what her husband went home and told her.
Mm-hmm.
So I I feel like the only reason why she came back was más que nada to like kind of face off with everybody, kind
Mm-hmm.
of be like try to show it a nosotras que like we messed up and we're bitches and all these things.
Yeah.
And then I remember with her, me llevaba muy bien before everything. I really liked her, and when she came in with me directly, I remember she was like very like, yeah, well, like very different, just too
Mm-hmm.
cold. So I would stay away, and the friend that I told like what happened and her husband reported everything, she told her, "Hey, like why are you like this? Porque ella era un angelito. She was the sweetest little girl." And she was like, "Well, I just don't think it's fair that you guys fired him because now I have to work." I was like, "Oh, you have to work? Like, what do you mean?" But anyways, she's like, "Now I have to work, and he can't find another job because of this, blah blah." And so she was upset, rightfully. Like I could understand her point of view. And she's like, "Well, do you know what happened?" And she's like, "Well, yeah, you guys falsely." She's like, "No, this is what happened." So she told her, and like she just started crying, and like she went up to a lot of us and like said sorry because how did she know who
Yeah.
recorded stuff? You know, like that was what was weird. And she went up to a lot of the girls and like apologized to all of us, and she left. I mean, she wasn't comfortable there, obviously,
Yeah.
but I just remember she left, and that was sad because her husband was being very pervy.
Okay. Positive note of all this.
There's no positive note here. I think it's just learning to understand everybody's cultures and knowing that not everybody has the same type and preference towards you, and it's okay to have preferences and types and all that stuff. It's okay to like what you like, you know?
Yeah.
Just don't make it weird.
Don't make it weird. Exactly.
Bye.
Bye.